Hello, everyone. We are here at the Bell County Commissioner's Court, and once again, this man is trying to tear down statues, so we're here to oppose them. And once again, it's not a Confederate memorial. It's a Confederate Veterans Memorial. It is a memorial to soldiers. Thank you, David. Hello, everybody. The meeting should be getting started any minute now. Ours is agenda number 5. I don't know what this is about.
All right, I'll call our Commissioners Court meeting for Monday, March 6th, 2022 to order. Please rise for the invocation of my God. Please rise in prayer. Almighty and Father God, in thy great holy name. Come before you today, Father, your creation. Thanking you, Father, for all the frees that you give us to live the best life that we can here. Amongst those, Father, the two greatest commandments, our mind and soul, love our neighbor as ourselves. Help us to keep focused on those things and make decisions for our community here. We ask that you bless us here in Bell County and all this great country as we go forth and enjoy the blessings you provided for us. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our nation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 3 is our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered several items on the consent agenda. First is consider approval of minutes of February 27th, 2023 meeting of Commissioners Court. Item B is personnel budget minutes. C is claims, which are accounts payable, Item 3B is to consider authorizing the award of Article 27 construction of the museum storage building to Wright Builders, and authorize the county judge to enter a contract with Wright Builders for a total project cost of $2,083,057, and the owner's construction to be $153,000 and associated budget amendment. Item 3E is to consider amendment number 1 under the contract with waste management for IFM 0822. We have one pickup for each display annex that costs not to exceed $1,008.72. We have our 22 budget for the associated
consider authorizing the county judge to enter the contract with Capstone Mechanical for the livestock purchasing cooperative quote contract 63-631-1 for the furnishing and installation of controls, specifically non-purchasing costs of $253,410. Funding for the 2022-2023 capital project budget. Item PG is to consider authorizing the county judge to enter the contract with Zero Last Tips Purchasing Cooperative under 21025 for the replacement of gutters, roofs, and skylights at Bell County Express for not to exceed cost of $1,810,604.99. Funding is from the insurance reimbursement proceeds from hail damage. Item 3H, consider authorizing the county judge to execute settlement participation agreements concerning the opioid claims from the Texas Attorney General's office relating to settlements with Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. Item 3I is to consider approval of change order number 1 with MRB Group in the amount of $10,100 for changes in schematic design in the engineer's office on Avenue O. And the last item on the consent agenda is to consider approval of change order number 1 with MRB Group in the amount of $17,500 for changes to the relocation of the museum storage building to address permit issues with the city of Baltimore. That's the consent agenda. Most of those items we talked about last week in the workshop, but however, happy to entertain a motion. Move to approve. Motion made by Commissioner Snyder, second by Commissioner Whitson. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? Thank you, Bart. Item 4 is to consider granting gas utilities with 0.015 acres at the time of the emergency survey document defining leasing bounds of the eastern area to Atmos Energy on the southeast corner of the Lockwood Blockade in the County Justice Center. Commissioner Schuman, this coming across your desk first. Mr. Snyder, excuse me.
Yes, sir. It's our new gas line that's going to be feeding the jail. They'll upgrade the gas line along 121. They needed a small area to make the tie-in to our south of the existing jail and rural town there and bring service to the jail, the new jails.
Is this within an existing easement?
Friendly Yankees are always welcome.
It's not. It's a small piece. It's like a 12 by 17 or something like that. Just a small area that need to wait for the next time. I would make a motion for approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Snyder, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? Item 5 is to consider establishing a 7-member citizen panel to provide recommendations on the Bell County Confederate Memorial. Commissioner Minor.
Yes, Judge, we talked about this in our workshop last week, and I wanted to bring it up for a vote. I believe that this is a good compromise to have this as establishing some type of learning tool out there. That's something that we had been discussed from both supporters and opposers of moving the statute. But I would like to see what that may or may not look like. And maybe getting some members from each precinct, and then probably getting the Bell County Museum, because I guess they're more historical, to give us some guidance on what that might look like, a plaque or something like that out there. So with that, I would make a motion to establish this 7-person citizen panel.
Motion by Commissioner Minor. Not seeing a second from the motion, so the motion dies for lack of a second. I do have,
Motion for since it's out.
there would be a motion. There would be a motion.
discussion, we've discussed this time and time again, we have voted on where the statute should go. In our discussion last week, we talked about all of these different storyboards, and you could cover the entire courthouse lawn up with storyboards on the historical relevance of the Civil War. If you don't know enough about the Civil War to understand any of the relevance, I don't think putting a few little boards up, plaques, is going to educate you to the point that you really need to be educated. So my amendment would be that we preclude any further discussion on the statute, whether it be relocation, demolition, addition, or subtraction of any items until January 1 of 2025, or until such time as the legislature allows all of the voters of Bell County to vote on the disposition of that statute.
Madam Clerk, she got all that.
Motion to preclude any further discussion until January 1, 2025, or until legislation can allow voters to decide. I'll watch the video.
Okay. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
That's it.
All right, is there further discussion? I do have,
I have some discussion.
several folks that would like to speak also on the matter, so I will recognize them before the vote is taken on. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Judge, I don't think Commissioner Schuman can do that. I believe I have the right as a elected commissioner for precinct 4 to bring items on the agenda, and that is something that I would challenge if the court moves forward with that motion.
I'd also like to say, I do have some discussion on it too. We made the decision no less than 8 or 10 times, whether we had a vote or not had a vote, not have a motion, not a second. I think not having a second basically tells the court that there's no interest in what we're doing. And you made it's been said, is quit kicking the can down the road, and we're actually kicking the can down the road, we're kicking it backwards. We make decisions up here as a court by majority, and when we make a decision, you may not like the answer, but that's the way we move it. There's been decisions by this court that I was in favor of, but I'm a part of a court, I'm part of a unit, the fight. When we make a decision, that's where we go out, like or not. And some I like and some I don't like, but we go out because it's the majority. That's the way our court is set up, and I think we continue to do that. And we agree to do that, I think, when we sign off for this job. I did. And so I don't understand why we keep putting it on the agenda when we get an answer we don't like. So that's why I agree with what
Yes, they are.
Well, I keep bringing it up because even in workshop, there's very little discussion on it. Even Commissioner Woodson said that he would consider some options, but nothing is getting done. And we think a plaque would be the minimum that this court could do, and in recognition of my constituents that would like to see some, and many of your constituents as well, that would like to see some type of action on the statute.
And we've had many hours of discussion on it over the years, Mr. Minor. I've been a part of many hours of discussion. I've seen up to 5,000 signatures on a sheet handed to us saying, leave it alone. I mean, we've had multiple, you had an event out there on the square, had 15, 20 people out there. So there's been lots of discussion, I think, about it. And we've had it on the agenda now since every agenda since you've been here, and there has been no interest. So I think we've had plenty of time spent on it, personally.
even prior to me getting on the board, there was a lot of discussion to be had. And before I got into discussion on that, I went back and looked at some of the history of what the prior commissioners had done and what the discussions were at that point in time, to get perspective, to understand where we had come from and why we had made the decisions we made, so that I could understand. New commissioner, understand, you and I talked about it a little bit. I'm always willing to consider anything that the people of Bell County want to consider. There's no question about that. And my answer, whether I was in the middle of the campaign last year or the 4 years prior to that or today, has always been the same. I will consider anything that a citizen of Bell County wants me to consider, because that's what we do every day. That is our job. But I don't want to consider the same thing over when no new information has been shared. I don't want to talk about it just for the sake of talking about it again, every meeting, every year, every whatever it may be, if nothing's changed. So if there's new information that we need to take a look at, which I've not heard, I've not had any new argument, I've not heard any new group come up, I've not heard, well, for any other reason to do anything, so there's nothing really for me to consider at this point in time. We consider it now, giving you the benefit of the doubt, you weren't here for all of it, but I would encourage you to go back and look at the meeting minutes of those public hearings that we had. We talked a little bit, talk to other commissioners, understand where we're coming from too, as well as people that live here. And since we started this, we've had a whole lot more people coming here and a whole lot more emails for people saying, hey, we've already talked about this, just leave it alone, please. Quit tearing our community apart over something that most of the community is perfectly okay with. And if anybody in the community is not okay with it, they certainly should come talk to their commissioner. And I've had some in my precinct, and I know these guys have too, that have come to them and said, hey, I want a statute. But 1 reason or the other. By and large, those that I've talked to, they'll understand why it's still there. Even if they thought they didn't like it to begin with, and even if maybe they still don't like it today, they understand why it's there and the significance of it, the importance of it, after having a discussion. And so, because there's no new information on that, because there's no new reason to move it, because there's nothing that has changed over the last 4 years for me, I just don't see anything that's changed. So I'm not interested in doing this every week. And so I'm not seconding, these guys aren't seconding motions that you're bringing. And I don't mean to make it about you, this is certainly an issue for Bell County. But I think the issue's been put to rest many, many times as well. I agree with the sentiments of Commissioner Snyder and Schumann. I also am concerned, and I think probably that's what the judge is going to talk about too. I don't know that legally I can support Commissioner Schumann's motion, even though personally I would prefer that, at least not talk about it every week, because we have a long agenda of a lot of really important things we've got to get done, and I just don't see this being a priority for the county. But I do believe you're right. You're a commissioner, you can put anything on the agenda you want. I don't think it does you or the county any service at all to put something on the agenda every week when you know you have no support. And to me, that's it's just not.
It's a waste.
But I do believe you have that.
Commissioner, all right, I do have, like I said, I do have 5 individuals fill out forms to speak on item 5, which I think we're still on, so we'll certainly recognize them and allow them to be conversated. So the first one I had, is hand to the order they received by the clerk. The forms, if you want to address this on this item or any other item on the agenda, are just outside of the board. The one beside the clerk should hand it to me and I'll recognize you at the appropriate time and in the order that I received them. If you would, when you come to the podium, accept your name and address. And then 5 minutes. All right, so the first one I have is Jim Balance. Mr. Balance. And you don't have to speak, you can just, I should put this on your video or make this comment. You can fill out a form and check, I do not wish to speak, but I am, which is what Mr. Balance did. I did not do that, but,
I just checked, I do not wish to speak, but I'm against, I think we've gone far enough with all this.
yes, sir, you did check, fill out the form.
Yeah, April 14th. April 14th.
Noted, and we keep all these, all the forms go in the record with the minutes of this meeting. All right, the second one, which I do not have a box checked on, this is Pat Vance. Yes, ma'am. Morning.
Thank you for letting me speak today. I don't believe that we need to have another citizens panel on, what?
It's called intelligence. Wade, I know you don't recognize that, but that's what it's called. It is intelligence. Just because I sound like an attorney means I know what I'm talking about.
Bell County Expo Center, so a lot of people could be there, and there were a lot of people
The
there.
bar hasn't said anything.
And everybody stated their opinions. We had residents of Bell County there. We had people from out of Bell County there. We had people from out of Texas there. We had, representatives from NAACP there. We had BLM there. We had Antifa there. And everybody stated whether or not they wanted the statue to say, and the vote at the end of the meeting was to keep it where it's at. And I don't see the point of doing it again, because like you said, 5,000 signatures were presented to y'all from Bell County residents that don't want the statue moved. It's a memorial to our families, veterans. And bringing it up over and over and over, we're gonna be here over and over and over. Say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person I have is Gerald Fletcher. Fletcher. And
Gerald Fletcher, Temple, Texas. Thank you, Judge Blackburn, and Commissioners for the chance to speak to you today. I would be remiss if I didn't note 187 years ago when this state besieged the Alamo. San Antonio ended. Remember the Alamo. Closer to home, on courthouse lawn stands a statue of Peter Bell, a veteran of the Texas Revolution. Motion 5 reads in part to create a citizens panel. I would submit to the office.
I'm gonna give the morons in here an opportunity to come on live with me and debate me this afternoon at 1 o'clock live.
An overflowing crowd at Expo Center.
If you're not a coward, you'll be there and you'll come live.
Plus signed up to speak. No one was in panel. They came on their own volition. Masked, sitting 6 feet apart. The petition mentioned earlier was presented to the court and is on record. And the vast majority of those signatures was collected right outside this courthouse. And it was determined by the court that the legislature.
I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity to trigger me. All you gotta do is come on live. It'll be great entertainment trying to bring me down. But I look forward to seeing you cowards.
The author of number 5, agenda number 5, I believe there's no action in this 88th session forthcoming. I would submit presently, the deadline hasn't ended yet. HB 1512, introduced by Representative Spire.
Come live and show me how triggered I am.
1560.
All you gotta do is come on my live stream at 1 o'clock.
Senator Creighton. HB 3279, introduced by Representative Slater. All these are relevant to this motion. The motion wasn't seconded, but I do ask that the commissioner to stand with the court and their decision, shoulder to shoulder. You're part of this court, and the court has made a decision. Each corner of the court.
Remind me who Merb is again.
corner and it reads, it was dedicated during the bicentennial year. In gratitude to God and in love of freedom, this monument is dedicated in our 200th year of independence to all Bell County veterans and all
5 minutes.
all
5 minutes each.
for their patriotic service and sacrifice. God bless Texas and patriotic Texas, dear Linda. Thank you.
Next one, I have CJ Grisham. Use your name, your address, and your phone number.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners Court. I'd first like to once again, well, if I could, if I'm not out of bounds, and forgive my ignorance, who here is a veteran on the court? Is it just Louie? Is that, and that's, I'm not trying to belittle anyone, but you of all people should know this is a veterans memorial. Number 5 here is addressing a statue that doesn't exist. There is no Confederate memorial here at the Capitol, or here at the grounds. It is a Confederate veterans memorial. It is dedicated to Confederate soldiers. When I became an NCO, I took an oath, and that oath was to maintain the welfare of my soldiers at all costs. That was one of my missions. And I look after soldiers who are currently serving, who have past served. My job as a first sergeant, it never went away because I care about soldiers who are killing themselves every day. But so first and foremost, if you're gonna bring something up here, at least be honest about it. This is a Confederate Veterans Memorial. I know that doesn't speak as well, and it probably doesn't sound good when you want to take down a Veterans Memorial, but as a combat veteran, that's disrespectful because those are combat veterans out there as well that memorializes. Combat veterans. There's another memorial over here that memorializes all veterans of all wars. That includes the Civil War. So you're going to take that one down too? Because that one memorializes Confederate veterans as well. This is about Confederate veterans. This isn't commemorating slavery. It's not commemorating the fact that we tried to leave the United States. It's not commemorating anything that we did other than those who heeded the call of the country that called them. Now, that country was a fake country, the Confederacy, but it was the country that called them. And I only say it was a fake country because obviously we lost and we remained a part of the United States, and the president never recognized that. So that's my first issue right here. The second is, every time this is placed on the agenda, I agree with what's been said here about, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Bill. I love you to death. You know I do. But he does have the right to bring this up here. I just wish that you would, because I'm actually done with compromise on this. The statute's not going anywhere. There's absolutely nothing that I'm going to support anymore because I have seen time and again, every time you bring this up, you just try to rename it or find some other way, but this is not the issue we have. Bell County is suffering from an increase in violence, and it's in your district, and this is what you want to talk about is division. All this does is divide us. We have gone way past this history, and I am so proud to live in a country where we have recognized the ills of slavery. The United States, out of all the countries with slavery in the world, some that continue having slavery, is the only country with the shortest time span with a history of slavery. We had slavery for the shortest amount of time than any other country in the world because we had it and we got rid of it fairly quickly. It's time that we recognize the progress that we've made instead of looking back to 1865, instead of looking back to 1960 when we finally fixed the Jim Crow era of what happened after the Civil War. But by golly, I'm telling you right now, I am going to stand for this county's veterans. I don't care what war they fought in. I didn't like the Iraq War. I did not like it. I fought in it anyway, for whatever the reason was. Whether it was a lie that we went to war, just like a lie we went to war in the Civil War. Well, it wasn't, actually. There were legitimate reasons, but slavery wasn't one of them. Thank you, Judge. And so, anytime, first of all, let's please be honest. Please be honest. We look to you as county commissioners to have integrity when you come up here and you argue things and you present things to the public. And it lacks integrity to say that there is a Bell County Confederate memorial when it is a Confederate soldiers memorial. It says right there on the statue. So at least if you're going to do these things, and then please just stop wasting our time, because I have better things to do on a Monday sometimes. Now, I read these agendas every week. So if there's something that I think I need to come and talk about, I will. But generally, I trust you guys, and if I have to talk to somebody, I'll call my commissioner and talk to him about an agenda item. But I will be here every time this is on the agenda, and I will defend soldiers and veterans. Thank you, Judge.
The last one I have is,
I'm sorry. Oh, actually, if you have a phone, I do. Oh, okay.
First of all, when it was pointed out that there's no interest in what's not into this, the very first question that Mr. Woodson was asked when he was running for office in October, just a few months ago, was about the statute. So when he says there's no interest, that was the first question. Secondly, when it was mentioned about a number of people at these meetings and large meetings and so forth, and I've gone to those. And when you look at them, almost all they're talking about keeping it, including here, by the way.
Thank you.
Of what? And a good number, almost all, a good number are black and Hispanic or Jewish. So no, when you're talking about people, you're talking about white people. Keep it in mind. You're not, I don't think you're being straight about that. Secondly, or thirdly or so, by the way, when that about the referendum is mentioned, it was mentioned today, it was mentioned last time also. There has been, I think it was the first meeting or so of the new Commissioner Court a couple of weeks ago, pointed out that was looked into, and that it was seen that there is no, it's not going to come up in this session. You know what, that reminds me, and many of you are familiar with this here, about the Dallas Cowboys. Every year saying, next year's the Super Bowl, next year's the Super Bowl. That's the thing about the referendum. That's just the way you're looking at it. The referendum is going to say it was next year's the referendum. That's been going on for 30 years as far as the Cowboys are concerned. How long are you going to go with that? And also, which is what I brought here, when someone says no new information or here's something maybe that is different that you're not familiar with, and this is from a book, as far as that goes, quite a number of books. This book is specifically on the founding of the Klan. I'll give you a copy of this.
This guy's probably the most racist guy in Bell County. He's always up here trying to, or always attacking white people.
This part of the book, or the very first part, right inside the book, most important part. It says, as you can read there, I'm not going to read all of it, but basically, when it comes down to as far as the very beginning of the Klan.
If that's your argument, come on my live at 1 o'clock and let's talk about it.
Veterans.
Unless you're worried about getting called out.
Klan, veterans, 6 to be exact, in Pulaski, Tennessee, officers even. And from then on, almost all of these, the original Klan or Klan, whatever, were veterans, Confederate veterans. Confederate veterans, not just any kind of veteran, Confederate veterans. There's no honor in being a Confederate veteran. None whatsoever. It's nonsense. Thank you.
Bullshit.
Yes, sir.
That is all the forms that I have on this item. Commissioners, you have any, I got a few comments. It sounds like you all. A few comments. I agree with the commentary from the dais that the issue has been discussed and discussed extensively.
No, it's okay. I want you to see how triggered I am. Come on my live and talk to me about it. Let's talk about it. Let's see who's really triggered. I mean, unless you're a coward.
I would go on record as saying I'm not, I will disagree with my commissioner to my left, or my Commissioner Louie to my left. I'm not necessarily opposed to considering the storyboards or collateral monuments or any of those ideas or thoughts. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. That said, I don't fully understand what those are. I would be the first to admit that, either in terms of content, or location, or size, or really much about those.
No, it's okay. I want to cry in your pocket. At 1 o'clock, will you let me cry in your pocket? Will you come on my live so I can cry in your pocket? Because I'm really triggered and I need a shoulder to rely on.
I'm not opposed to that, at least considering the matter. Again, I don't know much about it, but we don't really have a specific proposal with regard to that in front of us. The item is, requested was to have, to appoint a citizens panel to provide recommendations. And I am opposed to that, but for the reason being that I think we already have citizen committees in place that can consider recommendations along those lines and bring them to us. We have the Bell County Historical Commission. We also have the Bell County Museum and their board. I think both of those are not only appropriate but proper venues for this type of proposal to be thought out, considered. And if there is a proposal, either one or both that we want to bring to us as citizen representatives that we have appointed to do some historical commission. And from my chair, I'm certainly open to listening to what they might present to us. But I don't think we need another citizen committee to do that work. I think those committees and that commission are appropriately equipped and tasked to do that work, so they should they so choose to do so. And I'm not requiring them to do that. This is not a charge for them to do that. I'm just saying those are appropriate forums for that discussion to occur. And if the proposal surfaces, then I'm certainly willing to consider that. I also believe that having them on every agenda is really not the most beneficial or productive use of our time as Commissioners Court. And then until we have a specific proposal in front of us,
The Texas bar hasn't made a decision yet. But if they have prevented me, you'll have an opportunity live on 1 o'clock to provide evidence.
there's a motion to table in one side of the phrase, but I kind of view this motion to table until, I asked the clerk to tell me one more time, one of the events was a date and the other event was something else. I can.
Motion was to preclude any further discussion until January 1 of 2025 or until legislation allows for voters to decide on the matter.
Right, so I kind of, in my mind, I think that is a motion to table until one of those two events occurs. Which does present an interesting potential legal question, which I think is appropriate in terms of the question. There's certainly provisions in the law for any commissioner to put an item or to request an item placed on the agenda. But there are also provisions in the law that allow the body to adopt arbitrary rules to govern the process of the court. And so I kind of view this as a little bit of a quandary. I'm sitting here trying to think about it the past 10 or 15 minutes. As to,
Come on, Bits and Bob. You're making me sad. Make me feel better on my live at 1 o'clock. Unless you're a coward.
That's certainly one interpretation of that could be had relative to that. you know, the date that was,
I'm sure you have evidence of that, so just bring it to the live. You've got a few hours to get your evidence together. Unless you're a coward.
And from my standpoint, I think there is some reason behind that request, in the sense that
You've made some factual claims. All I want you to do is back them up. Just bring the evidence at 1 o'clock. My viewers deserve to know what a fraud I am, and you can help prove that.
Or if there's some changes in legislation that allow that. Only thing I would add to that is, or if there's a proposal that comes from one of, and I'm not making a motion, I'm not making motions, but if there was a proposal that came from the historical commission or the Bell County Museum, to me, that would also be a trigger from my standpoint to say, okay, I'm open to considering something. I'm not saying agree to anything, I'm just saying open to considering.
Says the guy who's throwing a tantrum. Sorry, someone tried to call me.
I was going to table, that's not what you used. He said motion to
Preclude any further discussion.
preclude any further discussion until those two events, either legislative change or January 1, 2025. Any further comments or questions?
I'd like to just make one comment, because this is exactly what I was thinking as well. The motion to table, you can table to a deadline, and if it passes, that's table to that deadline. It can always have a motion to remove from table, and we brought up earlier, the body sees necessity to do that.
Hey, we can except it's the Bell County justice system is the armpit of Texas.
Certainly amend the motion to go for precluding.
Okay, as a second, amenable to that? Second.
Judge, just so you know that I understand tabling, but I've never seen tabling years down the road to get
You're a coward.
I guess, an opinion on that.
Understood. All right, so the motion to table further discussion on this item until either legislative changes or January 2022.
5.
Any further discussion, questions on the motion to table? All right, not all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, motion carries 4-1. All right, thank you. Everyone here, offer comments and timing that you put into this matter also. All right, next item on our agenda is consider appointment for the Green Tax Implement Investment Fund number 2. We talked about this last week also. There's just some question about conflict of interest or potential.
Okay, guys, I'm at work. Ooh, work. What kind of legal work is CJ doing? Oh my goodness. Is he doing legal work?
The assistant city attorney,
Uh-oh.
and I spoke to
I might trigger my critics again if they know what I'm doing at work.
all indicated that they didn't see any conflict of interest issues.
And the conflict potentially was, you're also the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Correct.
You guys take care, be safe, and be free.